Awesome. Sounds great. And I'm so happy to be here. Like you said, I am Blake Vita. I'm the Director of Marketing for gen.video. For those who haven't heard of us, we're a social commerce platform that ties influencer marketing into the e-commerce world with sales tracking and retail syndication and other creative methods. I'm honored to be joined by Erin Levzow. Erin, do you want to give a little intro?
Sure. Erin Levzow, Vice President of Marketing and Technology at Del Taco Restaurants, recently acquired by Jack in the Box.
Amazing. And yeah, today we're talking about C-suite marketing leadership. As most of you already know, this is a perfect topic. I don't think we could have a better speaker in Erin, and I'm really excited to go through some of these questions with you guys. This is a 40-minute session, so if anyone has any questions throughout the entire session, feel free to put them in the Q&A. We'll probably talk around for 30 minutes, and we'll look at any audience questions during the meeting. Then afterwards, we'll hopefully only focus on that if anyone has any questions. Well, Erin, I would love to kick things off. So just the general theme for everyone watching for the questions today, it's going to be around just general like best practices and lessons learned in the C-suite and marketing leadership role. I think Erin's going to have some very good inputs on these particular questions. So that's kind of where we're focusing on. But again, we're wanting to be able to have the audience gear the conversation in whatever direction they want. So feel free to ask any sorts of questions that don't have to do with these particular topics. So I'll start off, Erin, with what are the hidden qualities of an effective leader in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. So I think we look a lot at the hard skills when we look at leaders, but not always the soft skills. Soft skills being empathy, connection with people, communication. And for me, those are really, really important. And the leaders that I role model myself after, but also the leaders that I know even at a young age were strong in my life. And I think of it, so my degree is in theater, and people always go, how do you use that? Well, I use it quite a lot of different ways, but in this case, they teach you those soft skills. They teach you that empathy and working with all different types of people and accepting everyone. And I think those really come to life in leadership qualities that kind of create the leaders that rise to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very, very good point to bring up. And a little bit of background around me, I think we talked about this actually a little bit, Erin, is I used to play poker professionally. And that's one of the first things you learn in poker is play the player, not the cards, right? So, and it's the same thing in business. And, you know, you bring theater into your business world. I bring poker into my business world. You have to know who you're talking to, you know, not only in the sales role, because that's talked about a lot, right? People have different types of sales buying personalities. If someone's more analytical, speak about the numbers, vice versa. But it happens in everyday marketing life as well. You know, you want to know who your audience is. You want to know how to speak to them, what they care about, and how to convey that information to really, you know, make people care. A lot of marketing material nowadays is just spewed out to everyone like, oh, we're running X amount of Facebook ads and we have this amount of audience, whatever. A bunch of people are doing the same thing, but can you captivate your audience? When they see your ad or when they see your email, are they really paying attention? Are you speaking the language that they want to read when they read your email or whatever it might be? So definitely a very good point to bring up. Well, for you, Erin, what is your mentorship leadership style and has it developed over your different roles? I know you've had a couple of different roles that in the past few years.
Yeah, so I've worked as a leader in lots of different areas. I've been in HR, talent development, all the way through retail. Once I fell into marketing, casinos, retail, restaurants, hospitality across the board. And my leadership style continues to change only because I continue to grow as a leader. I think the moment we stop growing in anything we do, we've failed. You're going backwards if you're not going forwards, right? And so for me, it's all about how do I continue to grow as that leader? So the leader I was early on, I made a lot of mistakes, right? Like I thought I had to be the smartest person in the room. I thought I had to control everything. And it turns out to be a leader, it's really about lifting others up and letting them speak and letting their voice be heard. And it took me quite a while to figure that out. And with each position I've taken on takes a different type of leadership style from me, right? I don't lead anyone the same way. And I think that's been important to learn as well. And what works for some doesn't work for others. And the other thing I've learned through growing as a leader is to be my authentic self. And if I show you what my heart looks like and what my goals are, then you're going to show me what your heart looks like and what your goals are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really, really, really good point to bring up is people respect people who are themselves. You know, everyone makes mistakes, especially in leadership roles. Like you say, you're not doing your job as a leader if you're not learning from your mistakes, or you're not making things that require more thought. If you're talking with a group of people and everyone expects you to know something, to your point as well, and you don't know something, then it's important to say like, hey, I'm going to be leading this project. I don't know exactly what the best way to do this is, but let's work as a team to research the best way. I don't know it already, and that's not an issue. I know I'm in the leadership role because we can figure it out, and we can do some research, and we can do some A/B testing, and really just see not only what works in the general industry, but what works for our company. There are things that could work for our company or industry that could be totally different for us. So no matter what amount of research we do, we still have to do some testing, and we still have to do some research on our end to really figure out the best way to move forward. Awesome. Do you have any tips? Oh, this is my favorite question. Do you have any tips around cross-department leadership and communication?
I think you have to over communicate. So people think that I told you something so you know it. And that's not how communication works. And the best way I liken it to is like the biggest cross department I have at my house is my children, right? They all have their own department, it seems like, and being able to communicate to each one of them effectively means I communicate differently to each one of them based on how they learn, but also over communicate, right? Because as a parent, how many times have I said, I already told you this. Why don't you understand? Like, I already told you this. And they're like, I don't think you did, Mom. I'm like, okay. So same idea with cross departments and teams. You are over communicating, right? Not just an email. Some people don't it doesn't sink in, right? You need to talk about it, and you need to talk about it at length, especially if it's a big piece of information or if it's through change management. So the other thing too with cross departments is bringing people together and understanding the why behind everything. And we've heard about this for years, that people want to understand the why and not just the statement or the thing they're doing. But we don't always still do it. We assume people know the why instead of re-explaining, hey, I'm asking for this, or we need to do this, or we need to push this forward, and here's why we're doing this, or why I feel I'm doing this, and then hear from them why they feel they're doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I've learned in my years in the influencer marketing industry, is that context is king, especially when you're working with, like you're saying, with, cross departments. When you're talking to the engineering team, giving them context as to why you're asking for something that needs to be built is going to make all the difference in not only them being able to do the project correctly, but being able to do it in a timely manner. It's going to have, if they know why the project is being made, there's going to be less rounds of edits, because they're going to actually know like what the client is going to want to see, or what the influencers are going to see, or in any industry is the same thing. Like you're saying, context is 100% king, and making sure people know the why is such a good point to bring up. And something I want to bring up as well, and I'm not sure if it's something that you've experienced specifically, Erin, is when you're talking cross communication between departments, the client service and the sales team are going to have a very much of a different communication style. You're saying to over communicate, 100% true. It's also style of communication, talking to people like that who are more outward focused, as compared to like an engineering team that are more analytical, usually more introverted, and just require a different sort of communication style than someone who's more client facing or outward focused.
Yep, absolutely. And especially with engineers, I've found that, or a lot of technologists, first of all, I scare them because I am a little bit out loud in my energy. And so again, for them, they just want to know, what do you need from me? And when does it needed by? And sometimes they want to know why we're doing it, but for them, I still give them that information, but just what do you need and when do you need it by? Versus like you said, the sales team, the client service team, it's all a very different communication style, but it still goes back to, what do you need? When do you need it? And why are we doing it?
100%. Exactly. Well, moving on here, do you have a mentor or leader who has influenced you or guided you throughout your career?
Yeah, so I have a lot of mentors and leaders that have guided me. David Norton, who used to be the CMO at Caesars Entertainment, was one of my first mentors, regardless of if he knew it or not. A lot of times, the person looking up to someone or learning from someone doesn't always raise their hand and go, hey, I've been watching you, right? And I always think, as great leaders, people are watching us all the time. Or as poor leaders, they're watching us all the time, and they're deciding, yes, I want to be like that, but you know what? No, I don't want to be like that. And then Bobby Shaw wrote a leadership book for restaurants called Cutting Onions. He was the CEO at Freebirds when I was there, and he's absolutely wonderful and the type of person that you want to follow. And I say that because he's a big believer in Gallup Strength Finder. I'm a big believer in Gallup Strength Finder, which is leading people from their core strengths, right? Everybody's different. Let's love on the inclusiveness of the diversity and then build on it, right? So I'm not going to ask you to do something that is not innate to your nature and you're not incredibly good at. Let's take those peaks that you already have and rise them up, versus if we spend all of our time focusing on someone's weaknesses, it's going to feel like it would be like asking Michael Jordan to be a great singer. To be fair, I have no idea if he's a great singer. Maybe he is, but we want to do that, right? Like, he's good at basketball. Let's focus on that and strengthen that and create to cultivate that, versus cultivating something that maybe he's just not innately good at. And then creating teams of people who are innately good at different things.
Absolutely, 100%. And you know how I can tell how like truthful you're being right now is you can hear the inspiration when you're in your voice when you talk about these people who have inspired you and who have influenced you throughout your life. And it's the same thing with me with with someone I'm working with actually right now, our chief growth officer at gen.video. His name is Larry Beeman. He's an absolute titan in the marketing industry. When I worked on my first role in IZEA right out of college, we worked together a lot, and I could tell that he was going to be the person that is going to be able to give me like leadership and is going to be able to guide me through the different career decisions I have to make in the future. You know, when you first graduate college, you're still kind of lost. You got a job at a company, you're in marketing, you're doing what you want to do. But college to a real job is a very different experience. And having someone there to kind of show you the ropes, like, this is what matters, this is what you should focus on, this is the career path I've chosen. Whether you want to take that same career path, up to you. But this is, you know, what's working for me, and maybe it's something to look at. So it's just so important to have someone like that in your life. And it can be hard to find those types of people sometimes. You know, I was lucky. Larry worked at my company. But you know, finding people who are going to be mentors to you can be a bit of a challenge for some people. And it's something, I guess. Erin, how did you meet your mentors? Did you just come across them randomly, or?
They were both from work. However, I would say the word mentor is just a scary word, right? When people go, who are my mentors? Like, it just sounds scary. People are like, oh man, I need a mentor. How do I go find one, right? Versus just being like a guiding light and like, here, I want to help. I like helping people. People need help, right? Like, and so therefore, by default, we can call it mentor. You can call it whatever you want. But for me, I think now I mentor a lot of women in our space. And one of the things I've found is, after mentoring like one or two, and I keep using leading, helping, whatever you want to call, having conversations with when they have questions. But after working with a few women, they all spread my name out there. And they were like, oh, you should meet Erin. You should meet Erin. And that's how they found me. But for me to find mine, it wasn't a thing, I think, when I started my career, where someone went, you need to have a mentor. It was just, hey, he's really good at his job and I like what he's doing and I want to do that too. I'm going to go ask him how I can do that. Right. Like, it was that, it wasn't the thought process of, I never walked up to someone and went, you know what, I need a mentor. I'd like that to be you. It was just, I want to be like you. I want to be like Mike. Right. Let me go follow that, figure that out, and start asking questions.
Love that. Absolutely. 100% agree. Tell us about a proud moment in your career and why it was important to you.
I've had a lot of proud moments. Most recently, last year, we launched Delia Rewards, and that was a big undertaking, and it took tons of cross-functional teams, as well as my team. And it was very exciting for the Del Taco app and the first ever loyalty program. So it was a very proud moment to see it kind of come to life and see all the people that it took to do it. Again, I'm very big into like, everybody has a seat at the table. And then like, if I went all the way back, it would be, when I worked at MGM Resorts in Vegas, we had to go through this diversity class. It was called diversity. It was about leadership and cultivating different mindsets. And at the end, everybody in the class, through all different industries, like we all worked in casinos, but all different areas of the casino, all different age ranges, ethnicities, could vote for someone who they felt like had come a long way through this intense training. And they all voted for me, and I received this Warrior Award. And I was like, I didn't do anything. And they were like, you were there to help everyone. You literally lifted, and you had to like lift bodies through ropes. It was very intense. but like they were like, you were always there figuring out how you could help lift someone up. And that I think was my most proud moment, because someone, like, to me it's just natural, like if you need help I'm going to help you, but people looked back and went, no, that's special, like that's different. um Outside of that, it's really helping the women that come to me and ask me for advice. It's being able to sit down with them and go, all right, here was my journey, I don't know how that helps you, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have, right? Or when they ask me like, should they be negotiating at their job offer, and I'm like, yes, you should absolutely do that. And they're like, well, shouldn't I just be happy with what I receive? I mean, you can be, or you could just ask for the next thing and see if they say no, right? Like it's things that I thought were, that I learned along the way, I forget that other people don't know. So being able to help them, I think it has made me incredibly proud, and it's things that make me very happy and fulfilled to do.
That's amazing. And that's, I think it just speaks to your personality as, like, I didn't do anything. I don't know like why I'm getting
Yeah.
this getting this. Is it a warrior award you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand why I'm getting this. And everyone's like, you did all these things. You're like, this is just who I am as a person. I think that's, honestly, that's probably why, a huge reason why you're in the position you're at today, is because that's just your personality and people look up to you naturally. And you might not know how many people that you're actually a mentor to. And people probably tell you that all the time, but it's just a really, really great personality trait that's, when someone actually gives you recognition for it, I can see why that was one of your top moments for sure.
Well, thank you.
Well, great. Let's move on. As a leader in the ever-growing marketing space, how do you stay on top of industry news? Okay, I want to preface this question. So with this, I mean, my inbox is full all the time. I cannot imagine what your inbox looks like, with people trying to send you news and updates and like, hey, this is what our company has going on. So how do you filter through what matters to stay on top of industry news and to kind of stay in the know of what matters to you?
I wish I had like an amazing answer where I was like, I read this every morning and I know everything, but I don't. I have a lot of newsletters that come in, and if it catches my attention, I read it. If I see something that someone else is doing, I start asking questions. I do attend conferences and webinars and things like this where I can learn, and like just picking up nuggets, even sometimes having podcasts on in the background, because like who has time to listen to a full podcast without anything else happening in their life? Not me. I don't. But like being able to listen to like a nugget and being like, I don't know what that means, I need to go research that, right? I think not only is that how I've continued to grow as a leader and practitioner, but how I still grow. And it's things like when someone says a word in a meeting and I'm like, I don't know what that word meant. Like, and that still happens all the time. And I'm like, hold on, Google, thank God you exist, right? Like, I don't know what, my parents still have Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, maybe that's what they did when they didn't know a word. But like, I honestly, that's how I research everything, and continue to ask questions. I think I get every newsletter in the world, it seems like, into my inbox. I don't read them all, but I try to like read the ones that catch my attention, or at least read the headline. And then if it keeps going from there, be like, all right, I should read this. If it's more than a paragraph, chances are I'm not going to read your email or the article.
I think so. That's going back to Larry. That's like one of the first things he told me, because I eventually transitioned to sales for a little bit. He's like, do not send people paragraph emails. They're not going to read it. They do not care. Bullet out 3 points, things that are important. Say, are you free for a meeting? And then you talk about it on the meeting, but do not send paragraphs and emails. And now that I'm in this role where people are sending me those paragraph emails, I'm like, oh my God, stop sending me essays. I do not read this.
Not only do I not want to read essays, but like now there's like tricks that people like, and no, I love a good salesperson. Like, don't get me wrong, like love them. But when you send me an email and you're like, hey, missed you on our call. We never had a call scheduled. But now I'm like panicking because I'm like, what do you mean you missed me? What call did I miss? And I'm like researching the person and I feel horrible about it. And then I'm like, oh, this was a like ploy to try and get me to respond to them. And like, this is happening more and more in my inbox where I'm going like, I feel horrible, but it's not my fault. It's a ploy to get me to respond, to have this interaction. And I just don't get it. Like, that must be working for them, but it just drives me nuts.
That sounds awful. I've never had someone
It's
do that
happened
to me.
so many times recently. Or they'll say like, hey, I saw, like they'll stalk me somewhere else because like, we all have social lives, and they'll go, oh, I saw this. I wanted to talk to you about that. And then I realize as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, this was a ploy too. Like, but it's really more about like, if you can make a genuine connection somehow, you're going to get a lot farther than using some of those ploys or the paragraphs or anything like that.
I cannot believe that just straight up lying to someone has been working for some people. I like you're saying it must be working because they're still doing it. But
Yes.
oh yeah, we had this call. No, we didn't. Oh yeah, my bad. But hey, do you want to have a conversation? Maybe buy my stuff? Absolutely not. Like go away.
No.
What's wrong with you? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, quick note on your response to the last question. So you said you pay attention to the newsletters that catch your attention. You mentioned headlines. Is there anything else? This is a selfish question because I make the newsletters for Gen Video. Is there anything else that can like really catch your eye on a newsletter, or is it mainly just keeping it short and sweet, having a good headline and going?
I don't know. Like, I'm probably your lowest common denominator. So like, it is pictures and bullets and lists. Like if you just say, here are the top 5 things, I'm like, oh, I can read that. Like I can consume that. And that's why I say, like, I'm sure there are people much smarter than me reading these newsletters and are like, yes, I'd love to read this long article. I'm not that person. I'm like, is there a cool picture? Is there a top 5 list? Then I'm in. Like, all right, give me the soundbite real fast. But no, other than that, that's it.
Absolutely. Okay, got it. Noted down. All right, moving forward here. Individual contributors that are amazing at their jobs but don't want to take leadership paths are essential to any company.
Mhm.
So I guess for you, how do you bring the best out of those individual contributors who
Yep.
are a huge asset to the company, but they might not want to take leadership roles as is kind of the norm of
Yeah.
what is expected?
So I think it would be the same as how I would work with anyone, which is situational leadership, which means figure out what fuels them. What fuels them? I used to work next to this woman who worked at the same job, same place, same desk for 40 years. 40 years. She loved cats. It was cool. We had a lot of pictures of cats. It was awesome. I had a lot of conversation around it. Not a big cat fan, but it fueled her. So I would buy her pictures of cats. Anyway, she had no interest in moving up the career ladder. She was great at her job, amazing at her job. And every couple years, someone would come to her and go, you don't want to move up? And she'd go, no, I'm good. And they were like, well, what are your aspirations career wise? She's like, this, like, I'm very, very happy. And people couldn't comprehend it. And it was like, why look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Like, this is great. She loves her job. She continues to want to do her job. She does her job as an A plus. Let the woman be, right? Continue to thrive. She loves cats. Let's make sure she has all the cat pictures she wants or whatever it might be, right? And that's how I think about anybody. Figure out what fuels them. Figure out what drives them. Some people, like I've had employees that, you know what, they'll give you 110%, but on Tuesdays they just want to go to like daddy and donut class with their daughter, right? Daddy, daughters, and donuts. And I'm like, okay. But if I stopped that person from doing that and they missed that hour in the morning of that, they might not be as great of an employee. You figure out what fuels them, you figure out what drives them, and then you allow for that to happen. And you create that flexibility in their lives. And if driven by wanting to move up or moving into a leadership, you cultivate that. If driven by, hey, I just want to make sure my family's okay and this is what's going on. Guess what? I'm going to take 110% interest in your family and what's going on there too. I want to know what's happening with the kids. But it's whatever drives that human, that person to continue to do their best work.
I absolutely love that. I think we're taught from a very young age to be like, yeah, the goal should be to graduate college, move up the corporate ladder, and eventually own your own business, own your own company. And
Right.
people go through school, including myself, with that notion. And I know a lot of people who have started down that path and are very unhappy in some higher up management roles. They're like, you know what? I don't really want to run a team, but now I'm in this great position. And, you know, of course, they have a good salary and all this stuff, and they're happy in that sense. But when it comes to actually, you know, wanting to go in day to day, they're like, you know what, like I might have been more happy just being an individual contributor. And I actually know a couple of people who have left very high up positions to go back and not restart, but just kind of reposition themselves in the company, even if that means, you know, going quote unquote down the corporate ladder. It doesn't really matter because, to your point, it's what fuels them, it's what makes them happy, and it's what they want to do, and they don't necessarily want to be in a leadership role, which is totally fine.
Exactly.
Well, what about you, Erin? Did you always want to be a leader? I guess, did you find that out in a certain point during your journey, or like from the moment you started, you're like, I want to run everything?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. when I was little, my parents said, because I was like, I'm going to be an actor. And my parents were like, you're going to be poor. I'm like, okay. But they were like, you should be a lawyer. You really like to argue with people. I'm like, okay, thanks, mom. But as I grew in my college degree, was doing theater, I naturally was the person, like I was the bossy girl, right, in class. And they'd be like, Erin, calm down, lower your voice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? But now, I mean, it took us years to figure out that's not being a bossy girl, that's being a leader, right? So as I've grown through my career, it's been natural for me to go, I want to help. I can help corral all these people and figure out what our common goal is. It was never like, I want to be the line leader. It was more so of, where are we going? How are we going to get there? And let's bring all the people together to help them get there. And that, I think, innately is what a great leader is. I never thought about it like that. I thought about it as a shared goal and a shared vision. And I got to be part of helping people get there. And it just so happened that I could connect with all these people to help them with this shared vision. Um, as a leader, it's doing the exact same thing every single day and understanding the person as a human and how we get to the goal that we set out to do. That's why I've worked in lots of different industries across my time, is because if you're a good marketer, if you're a good leader, you can market and lead anything. And it doesn't have to be like, I went from Vegas vacations, which was like selling the dream, right, to selling chicken wings at Wingstop, like very different. And people are like, oh man, that must be so hard. No. If you understand why someone does something, why someone chooses something, the woman before me spoke and talked about how 90% of the decisions were made by women. They have the R&D to understand that. If you understand who's making the decision, why they're making the decision, your job becomes very easy. And then what you're doing is cultivating the people to help create the magic to get the customer to make the decision.
Do you guys remember at the beginning of this conversation when I said Erin was the perfect person to have on for the C-suite marketing leadership? Do you guys believe me yet or what? She is amazing. Yeah, what a good answer. That is so true. And I was getting like Wolf of Wall Street vibes. Like you sell anything to anyone because you know how to, all these skills that we're talking about throughout this entire call, they all cultivate into one. You know how to lead a team, you know what drives people, and you know how to speak to different people on a team, and you know how to speak to the people who are going to buy your product or your chicken wings or your vacations, whatever it might be. You can sell anything and you can market anything if you know your buyer and if you know how those people want to be informed of what you're trying to sell. So once you have that stuff down, which it seems like you very much do, then it's just streamlined from there, and it makes it a lot easier. I do want to stop right here. We have a couple more questions on our end that we can go over, but I do want to see if there are any audience questions. Right now, I'm not seeing any in there, but take this time, guys. If you heard anything from Erin or myself that you have any specific questions on, feel free to put it in the Q&A widget that I have open right here. How nifty is this? This is so cool.
Feel free to ask anything you want.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We have something in the chat. Oh, it's just, or you're just being quoted already. Love that. Amazing. Okay, well, I guess as everyone goes in and puts all their questions in, we can we can go on to the next question that we have on here. What is the most important lesson that you've learned in your career as a leader in the space?
That it's not about me. that it really has nothing to do with me. And I think that early on was something I learned in acting, but didn't realize that it translates to everything else in your life. Like, same with being a great mom, like has nothing to do with me, like has everything to do with my kids. And I think that's really important, that my job is to help others. It, again, doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I'm getting fulfilled. Now, it helps that it fulfills me to help others, but that's what a good leader does. And it took a while to figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess how long during your journey did it take to kind of figure that out?
I'm probably still figuring it out, right? Like, but I don't know. It was probably, I started figuring it out in Las Vegas. And then as I grew and moved positions, it became more and more clear. And I also think working for great leaders, you learn just as much when you work for poor leaders. And I've had both in my career. And so it's this idea of like, you fail just as way more than you succeed. Sometimes you learn what you don't want to do. And I've worked for the leaders before in my past life that are about them and not about the team. And seeing that, I went, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about. So I love talking. I love engaging with people, but it's not about me.
Now that's a quote. You learn as much from great leaders as you do from poor leaders. That's a quote for sure, 100%. That is amazing, and it's so true. And the moment you said that, I just a flow of like memories came back to me about a very poor leader that I had in my life, and I'm like, you know what? I actually did learn a lot. You know, I may not have used what I learned in a leadership role, but I learned a lot about myself as a person, about who I do not want to be and how I don't want to talk to people, or the way I don't want to talk to people, and a lot about the ways I do want to talk to people, and just the way that everyone just needs to be respected in different ways. You know, it's not all about yourself. And as a leader, you know, of course, leaders have some of the most pressure on them throughout the entire company or any role and all throughout life. But you know, you have to take that pressure with a grain of salt. Can you handle that pressure in the sense that can you now treat others with respect to get your goals done? Or are you going to crumble under the pressure and kind of just showcase your pressure? That's not the word I'm looking for, but project, that's it. Project your pressure on other people and make other people stress in their jobs where they're just doing their own thing. They're individual contributors who are doing great at their jobs. But if you as a leader are going to project onto them because you're getting stressed out, then maybe leadership is not the best for you, or maybe you need to figure out how to handle it a little bit better.
I also think like the whole Maya Angelou quote of like, people won't remember what you said or what you did, but they'll remember how they felt, how you made them feel. And I try and remember that all the time, is like, you want to be around people that feel like sunshine. You do. I want to be around people that feel like sunshine. Other people want to be around people that feel like sunshine. And those people get you to do your best work. And so if I can do that, if I can be that sunshine for someone that helps them do their best work and perform at their best, that's really my goal.
I believe the Gen Zs call that good vibes.
Good vibes. That's what my daughter wore in her shirt to school today. Good vibes.
Love that. I wonder where she got it from. Interesting. Okay, well, one of our last questions here. What are you most looking forward to in 2023 as a marketer?
I don't know, seeing if a robot takes over my job. I have no idea. To continue to build cool shit. Like my job is not hard. I sell tacos on the internet, like, for Pete's sakes. Like, this is not rocket science. It is fun. I sell something everybody loves, right? There are signs all over my office that says like, I can't make everyone happy. I'm not a taco. So like, I might have the greatest job in the whole wide world. So for 2023, I want to keep doing that. I want to keep building and sharing the sunlight that is the tacos on the internet as much as possible.
I need to go to Amazon instantly and get one of those in shirt format. I want one of those shirts so bad. I can't make everyone happy. I'm not a taco. What a great saying. I love that so much. Well, let me check back on the audience questions here. Do we got anything in here? Nobody has any taco related questions. That's absolutely appalling to me.
Well, if they haven't been to Del Taco, they need to go. And we just launched Del Torta, like sub type sandwiches, 7 inches, toasted. They're so good. So everyone needs to go get them.
So during college, this is going to sound really weird. Whenever I say preface with during college, when talking about Del Taco. So during college, I actually got the burgers at Del Taco. Do they still have burgers there?
They do, and they're so good. So when I first had the double Del burger, I was like, who orders this, right? Like, I was totally skeptical, and I shouldn't even be saying that because I worked there, but I was totally skeptical. I took a bite. I was like, this is delicious. And now every time someone's like, what should I get? I was like, get the burger. And then people go, I thought you worked for tacos. I was like, I do, but like the burger's really good too. So it's shockingly delicious.
Yeah, it's amazing. Kevin agrees about the fries as well. Kevin says Del Taco has the best fries. So
they really do. We hear that a lot. People are like, these fries are amazing. And like, they're crinkle cut fries too, which is, there's so much good food. So much good food.
There's so much love in the chat from Del Taco food right now.
They're like, why didn't you talk about that the whole time?
I was like, any questions? Absolutely not. But let me get some fries. That's so funny. Oh my God.
I want to know, are you still doing breakfast?
Yes. So breakfast
That
tacos
was
are
my
like my
favorite.
jam,
Yeah.
totally my jam, right? So, yes, so good. And if you're a Delia Rewards member and you come and just get breakfast, you get free coffee. So I don't know why everyone wouldn't do that.
Agree.
Breakfast.
That's good
Iced or
marketing.
hot coffee. Yeah, it's
Is
awesome.
that your idea, Erin?
Yeah,
Good marketing?
I cannot claim that idea. What I can do is tell you how I exploited the idea. But I know smarter people than I, right, make up those great ideas.
Okay. Wow. And any final words? This was such a favorite conversation today.
Well, thank
How will
you.
you leave them with more? Anything?
Oh my God. That is like right at the edge of the cliff, right? No, I mean, I think be yourself, be authentic to who you are,
Love it.
and that makes people connect with you. Use empathy to lead, and just go out and do the best you possibly can. And when you go to bed at night, if you feel like, yep, I accomplished it, even if your accomplishment was connecting with your team, then you did a great job.
Oh, I will give you a little wrap up that I took away, which is I love this famous line. So enough about me. What do you think about me? And how that is not the way to lead, according to Erin. And your better quote is from Maya Angelou, that people will remember how you made them feel versus what you say, or as Blake calls that, good vibes. So I think that all around, that was such a genuine, feel good conversation, informative, inspiring. I really want to thank you, Erin from Del Taco and Blake from Gen Video. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.